What's up, everybody? It's Roger and Victoria here from DisKingdom.com with your episode of This Kingdom podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer, which was released last week. Going to share our little thoughts on the trailer and also a little bit maybe on the movie as a whole. So, Victoria, what was your initial impressions of this Spider-Man trailer?
Well, I actually had to watch it twice because the first time I saw it as a preview for Beauty and the Beast.
All right.
And my initial reaction for that was like, yes, I've been very excited for this movie because when they introduced him in the recent,
Civil
what was
War,
it? Yeah, Civil War. I was very excited for this character because I'm honestly not a big Spider-Man fan because they just make him seem old.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes, he's a teenager. I can actually get excited for this. And the characters that they're introducing, the villains that they're introducing, like, I love how they meld his personality into the film and makes him seem like, he's a teenager going through regular everyday problems, but he's a superhero too.
Yeah, it's funny because my wife had sort of said, like, she goes, I don't like him in Civil War because he's really young. And I'm like, well, that's what he's supposed to be like. It's a Tobey Maguire, and they were playing college kids, but they were well into their 30s, and it didn't quite. He was always supposed to be a teenager compared to the major superheroes. So I'm loving the aspect of that trailer. There he's with his buddy, and they're like having little jokes about being a superhero and taking Captain America's shield, and and I love the bit where his friend puts on the Spider-Man outfit. That it's like having fun with it. Like they are just teenagers, and I think that aspect I'm really excited about that part because I feel that was missing from the previous 5 movies with Spider-Man in.
I agree. It's like it was just so intense and serious, and I'm just like, I understand there's going to be serious moments, but I feel like they didn't do it right, I guess I would say. Like he was just so intense. I'm like, be a teenager.
Yeah. I mean, I think like looking at like Spider-Man Homecoming, I will say it looked like they gave away a little bit too much. There was probably too much shown, which is always a little bit. There's a lot of comments of people going, "Well, I've seen the whole movie now. You've kind of showed us with the villain breaking up with Iron Man, facing the main villain," and it's like, okay, it's that kind of was a little bit too much. I don't know what you thought of that.
Yeah, I agree, because when I watched it the second time, once I came home, I was like, they pretty much gave away the plot, but I can't really assume that's the plot, of course, but they gave away a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I feel like with this is because they've kind of gone backwards they introduced Spider-Man in Civil War, and they don't need to do an origin story because we've already seen it,
Right, they already.
Yeah, they've done it to death. They don't need to do it anymore. But that whole thing now looks like he's obviously going to lose his suit, and then he has to build his own suit again. And it's a bit like, well, in the comic books, he always did make his own suit, and the whole suit was built from him. So it's a little bit like a step back. It would have been maybe cool to have seen it the other way around. I suppose they wanted him to look like Spider-Man in Civil War, but I can't help. It's like, I don't know what this new suit's going to look, because ultimately he makes his own suit. It didn't need Iron Man to make it in the comic book. So that's me being a Spider-Man sort of nerd, and because Spider-Man's always been a big thing for me. I read the Spider-Man books when I was a kid. The animated series from the 90s that was on Saturday mornings, I used to watch religiously. Used to record them. I used to watch the 60s animated TV series, even the really bad 70s movies I used to have on video. So I've always kind of had this thing with Spider-Man I've always been a fan. I mean, literally, there's pictures of me as a kid with my Spider-Man outfit and my Spider-Man toy. So for me, Spider-Man is my biggest Marvel hero of them all, of the main one. So that's probably why I'm a little bit more connected to him in that thing of like, okay, I'm very excited about Homecoming. It definitely looks like a proper Spider-Man movie.
I agree. I also enjoy the diversity of the cast as well.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely kind of they've opened it up, and I think there's that kind of thing of if they're introducing new characters and stuff, that all works very well. I mean, the idea of using the Vulture, he looks. I always envision him as a really old superhero. He's always he in the comic books and in the animated series he was always like in his 80s and 90s. So Michael Keaton is not quite like that, and to me he's still Batman. Yeah, definitely. I think with Spider-Man and stuff now, like you said, the diversity of the cast is quite But then I can't help but think it's New York City in a high school. It should be.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that as well. But I feel like the it depends if it how much of a role it plays. I can maybe overlook it, but
Yeah,
I gotta see.
yeah. I mean, there was a big reaction, obviously, with the idea that I can't even think the girl from Disney Channel being Mary Jane, and it was like, I mean, it was literally only yesterday that Marvel put out stats. They're changing stuff around with diversity, and I think there's always been this thing of it can be done very well if it's done like organically. If it's forced, it can come across bad, no matter whichever way it is. But I do think with Spider-Man, it does seem to be hitting the right point. I mean, his best friend and stuff. It all seems to be working very well.
I agree. When I first heard Zendaya was gonna play Mary Jane, I wasn't too sure about it myself because I only know her as the girl from Disney Channel through my sister from the show that she watched, who I can't actually name right now. But I've listened to a few of her music. I've seen the work that she's done. So I feel like if they, like you said, if they do it organically and they do it correct, then she would be a very good Mary Jane.
But I don't think she's even going to be playing Mary Jane. I think she's just going to be just some random new love interest, which I think's probably the smartest way of doing it. Leave Mary Jane for later. Leave that alone and also the way he's playing Spider-Man as a young teenager. I think that was the whole thing they did, like with the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, where they went after this Gwen Stacy thing, because it was a bit like, well, we want to do her and have the death and all the rest of it, but it was also a bit like, well, we don't really want to do Mary Jane again. And it was like, I think moving away from both Gwen and also Mary Jane might be the best idea at the moment with this character.
Yeah, I agree as well, just because it's a brand new actor playing Spider-Man in a whole different way. So I feel like focusing on his character right now, if they happen to open up for a sequel, then they can, explore, love interests and different villains and such. But right now we need to focus on him. And
yeah, I mean, I think obviously with like Avengers Infinity War, with him being in that, we haven't got time for love interests. We've got too much stuff going on. Thanos is around. We need to, we need them all to join together. We can't keep having the Jane Foster thing of, well, my girlfriend's here, but around somewhere. So that's probably a thing. But there was this whole thing as well of this last week, Spider-Man. Sony and Marvel have only really got a deal for Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Infinity War, and Spider-Man Homecoming, the sequel, whichever they're going to call it. After that, it's all up in the air, which I think makes sense from Sony's point of like, okay, we've done like a 3-4 picture deal. Let's see how it goes before we go any further. But then there's also been reports of this Venom movie going in production for next year. And suddenly, Silver Sable, and there's all these other things. And a load of like Marvel fans are like, whoa, please don't screw this up, Sony. You're doing amazing work with Marvel. So don't try and do your own. It's like, to me, you're trying to do Venom without Spider-Man being involved. It just makes no sense at all. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I actually didn't even hear about the Venom thing until you just said it. Now I'm just like, well, why don't you get Spider-Man finished first and see how it works and then go on?
Well, they almost like they obviously know that they want to do an R-rated movie. Logan and Deadpool's done very well, so now they want to jump in on it. But it's, the idea of doing a Venom, he needs to meet Spider-Man at some point to kind of get his powers and his abilities. And
exactly.
They have to have that. Now, whether or not all these stories of them work, I think Marvel might be working together with them and we don't know about it yet. Maybe even a deal might get done later on where it gets sorted out. But we don't even know. There could even be some stuff happening in Spider-Man Homecoming connected to it, but we don't know yet. So I'm a little bit like, well, we should hold off a little bit before having too much thoughts about this. It might not be as bad as we think, but I think there's a general consensus of, please don't try to do a Marvel Cinematic Universe version of just the Spider-Man villains without Spider-Man. It just doesn't seem to make any sense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I guess we have to wait and see, but I'm a little skeptical myself. I don't want them to ruin it.
No, and I think it's like Venom. I mean, if they did like Agent Venom or Space Venom or something, it could maybe work a little bit better. But you can't really have him running around with basically a Spider-Man costume. I'm hoping they're going to do this properly. I mean, whether or not how they're going to do it, Maybe they could just jump into, do a montage and tie it in. Maybe Marvel will work together. But it's very odd. I'm hoping they don't sort of mess it up. And I think they're going to wait to see how Spider-Man Homecoming does, see how the animated movie does, see how Spider-Man, and then go, we're in, or no, it didn't work. We want to be on our own again.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the best move for them at this point.
But on that note, anything else you want to add about that Spider-Man trailer? I mean, Iron Man was in it quite a bit. I mean, he was shown off quite a bit. And I think you can obviously see that was the deal. Iron Man in that one there, Spider-Man in Civil War. You can definitely see that's kind of the plan.
Well, Iron Man's gonna be Iron Man and Spider-Man, so we'll see how often he comes and goes in it.
Yeah, it definitely looked like, the thing is, the trailer could show off, the 3 scenes he's in together, and he might only be in it for like 6-7 minutes, but we've just seen a lot of it. I'm definitely excited about it. It should be cool. I mean, the idea that they've tied in with, they are at least moving on from Civil War, so it definitely looks exciting. I can't wait to see it, but obviously we've got Guardians of the Galaxy first, so that's the next one.
Yeah, we're gonna see about that one. I'm very excited for that though.
Yes, I'm a big Guardians of the Galaxy fan, so for me this should be good, because I think, again, this for me is almost like brand new, because even though I've always been a Marvel fan, Guardians was never that. I didn't really know much about them at all, so it's all brand new, and I think sometimes that's a bit exciting when you don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it's like fresh play, new experience, and now we're going to have it at the parks too.
Yeah,
so
should be good. Well, on that note, guys, thank you very much for watching or listening. Be sure to hit that follow, like button, or you can also hit that subscribe button. Where can they find you over on the interwebs there, Victoria?
They can find me at Twitter at He Calls Me PP, or on Instagram at He Calls Me Pineapple Princess.
Okay, and as I said, you can find us over at DisKingdom.com. You can also find us on social medias and stuff for all of that there. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and we shall see you guys in a later video. Laters!